we're obliged to obviously inform Darren of that approach, which we did do. We advised that we wanted him to stay. As a club, we kind of backed in the transfer window with the monies that we took from Ben Whiteman's sale and brought in the players he wanted. Obviously, looking at our season, where we're going, and obviously Sheffield Wednesday's season and how that's panning out. We thought there'd be a good option to stay here and finish the season through. He said he wanted to think about it and did so. Saturday, a little while before kick-off, his representative spoke to Gavin, CEO, and kind of said, look, he wants to go and speak to Sheffield Wednesday. Obviously, that comes when it's in a way that you kind of, once he started speaking to the club, then, it's always likely to get out that he's had that kind of conversation, so it damages a bit of stock with fans and board alike to a certain extent. So it was like, sure, you want to do it, then you need to make sure that you kind of are gonna go. And to be fair to Darren, he's got the job and he's moved on. And then we move on to Andy Butler, and we're looking forward to him being in charge. Disappointing for it to happen sort of so quickly, but a sort of good thing for the club that they're able to appoint Andy Butler so fluently as well. Yeah, and Andy did a cracking job when he came in during November, when Darren was self-isolating. He's done a great job with the Bells since taking over in the summer, and I think from a club perspective, it's always been kind of thought that Andy could be the next man for the job. He's, in terms of his contract and that extra year that we was looking at giving him in the summer, and the option that we had that could either be in a player or coach kind of role, either as part of Darren's team or in this case not. So we've had that kind of succession plan in mind. Obviously not wanting Darren to go, but at the same time, this is not the first approach we've had this season. I think it's been documented that we had another one further on. So we are where we are, but Andy's really looking forward to seeing Andy. We spoke already, me and him, and I saw what he kind of spoke to the press about, and he looks dead excited. And the players seem to already be responding well and excited about the new opportunity with playing for him. Liam, what do you make to all this as someone who's worked or covered both clubs? Sheffield Wednesday not in the greatest of positions in the Championship at the moment. It's a big gamble, isn't it, from Darren Moore to go to Sheffield Wednesday at this present time? I think a big gamble's putting it politely, really. Given the situation that Wednesday in, the instability that's at the club, and there's been at the there for a while. Darren's clearly backed himself to go in and try to be different than what other people have been, but he's got a major task on his hands. And the position they're in, and also the position Rovers are in, with plenty of time left in the campaign, there was a sense, although the past few results haven't gone their way, that something was really building this season. Well, even on Saturday, the performance were largely good, and the Rovers haven't been a million miles off, certainly in these last couple of performances, a million miles off getting back to where they were before. So things are well placed. They're sitting in a fantastic position. There's plenty of time left, and we've seen this season already that they've got the ability to be right up there, and there's no reason to think that they won't be. And Andy Butler coming in, of course, it's a different voice going from Butler the teammate to Butler the manager, but it's the same. It's sort of the same voice, isn't it? People recognise him. His big booming voice. He's going to be commanding, similar to what we see from Darren on the touchline. He'll command respect, but also allow his players to go out there with freedom. Yeah, he's already told us. He's told them that he's now gaffer and not Butts. But no, it's a voice that people can trust, and he's a well-respected figure in the squad, and he'll command that respect now as manager. And I think it's great that there's given how rapid everything comes around this season, how the games come thick and fast, that to have a seamless appointment like this is a real positive for Rovers. From the presser's point of view, easy to work with. You know what you're going to get from him. Honesty as well when he's speaking to yourself and other members of the media, which is exactly what you want. That is exactly what you want. It's always been straight up from Andy Butler. I was looking back on a piece I wrote after he departed the club, and the guy that will always put up in front of the media when after a difficult game, because you knew he were a reliable figure, the club knew he were a reliable figure to go and answer the questions honestly and openly, and that's exactly how he'll be as a manager, I'm sure. Sean, how big has his spell with the Bells been in terms of showing what he was capable of, albeit not at the level he's coming into now, but still having that ability to turn a team around who when he went into the Bells were struggling a little bit? Yeah, I mean, last season the Bells were definitely struggling in their division, and obviously the season got curtailed before they was allowed to finish, but they were bottom half of the table and fighting relegation, and this year I think they're 4th, 5th at the moment when the season has paused, so he's done a great job of turning that around. But speaking to a few of the Bells players, the biggest thing he's done is just player management and make them all feel wanted. He's got a squad of 20, 22 down there, and he can only pick 16, and he's kept them all involved, he's kept them all fresh, he's kept them all wanting to play. And I know when he was speaking to the press earlier on, he talked a lot about player management as well. So I think he'll do a really good job. And I think, from a club perspective, stability-wise, we always have a process that usually takes us 3 to 4 weeks, and we try and do the right thing to get the right man, and we've done that, and it's always been successful. I think, okay, we've not gone to that process this time round, but what we have done is gone to a very stable pair of hands who gets the club, gets the DNA of the club and the ethos, and is respected by all that dressing room, both on the pitch and off the pitch. You can tell he's got that respect. So hopefully that will be great, and Andy can do a really good job, and then we can talk in May, hopefully, about a championship contract and moving forward.
Yeah, the man himself understandably delighted to be the new Rovers boss, and here's his take on the last 24 hours or so.
If someone told me I'd be Doncaster Rovers manager early on the season or throughout my career, I'd jumped at the chance, and once the club offered me it was a no-brainer for me. It's the next progression in hopefully a successful career.
Just tell us a little bit about how the last 24 hours or so have looked for you leading up to the appointment.
Yeah, we've got, obviously spoke to Gavin and the chairman, and offered me the role to the end of the season, and it's taken on there really. It's been a whirlwind of meetings and training sessions and interviews. It's part and parcel of it, and I don't regret taking it up at all. I think it's a challenge that I want to do well at.
You mentioned when you first came back in the summer that it was a real sort of pinch yourself moment to be back around the place, of course, being a local lad, being manager at the Bells at the time as well. Is this just the next step in your career, obviously finishing as playing and now going into management? This is the best thing that could have happened for you, isn't it?
Yeah, and again, I thank the club for trusting me with this responsibility. It's not easy giving a player a role. Like I say, I've not stopped playing for the foreseeable future to concentrate fully on the role that I've got now. Yeah, to tell, like I say, to pinch yourself to come back as a player, then now to come back as a manager, it's incredible. And I say, I can't wait to get started. I can't wait to feel the excitement of a match day situation where the team now represents myself and the staff. You
had that little taste of it in November. Has that given you a bit of an insight as to what you can expect, obviously on a bigger scale this time around?
Yeah, I think it really did a wet and whistle. Really wanted to continue, and even though the Darren chose a side for the FC United and the Wolves game, the training sessions were what I want to do and what I've done with the Bells, and that's what I want to get across now. Is I've learned bits of information from Darren and Zibby and every other manager that I've been with, and take that and put it into now my version of it, my philosophy, my style, and hopefully it's a successful one, and we keep improving as a club and as a squad. And I know you won't have seen yet after a busy day, but social media's been full of Rovers fans wishing you well, and obviously former teammates, managers wishing you all the best as well. What's your message to the Rovers fans now sitting here as the club's new manager? Well, thank you for your support. It's been fantastic since I've been here as a player. Hopefully it continues as a manager. It's not going to be all smooth sailing, I know that as a person, but I'm strong enough to just hit the rough with the smooth. Hopefully it's more smooth than rough. But no, I'll give 100%, and there won't be a minute where I don't think about the next training session, the next match, the next opponent. I will give absolutely everything for this club. Like I've just done with the Bells, I'll do everything I possibly can to.
So Butler's had a very busy couple of days or so, hasn't he, Sean? And in terms of the continuity of his appointment, we touched on it earlier on, but the process that the Rovers board like to go through, it's usually a 4 to 6 week process, isn't it, in spotting and identifying the right man for the job. At this stage of the season, that isn't what you want, is it?
No, I think, let's face it, we want to continue to challenge in that top 6. We want to try and get out of this division, and we do normally take a 4 to 6 week process. I know that's frustrating for fans sometimes, but I think it's shown that it's worked every time we've gone through that. And the fact that 2 of those 3 managers have been moved on to clubs in the higher division shows that we've got the right man initially in terms of doing that job. So stability is key. You don't want to have someone coming in, caretaker, and then 6 weeks later changing again. That's not really key. I think Andy will come in, but also stability around him as well. We'll talk about a number of different things, but like you said, you've got Cops in there before whose stability, and Tom Anderson, the leader on the field as well. So that'll all really help Andy settle in.
Paul Gerrard, of course, part of the backroom staff. I think he's now seen off 4 managers during his time at the club, so he's clearly doing something right. The fact that he's still here.
I don't know what he's doing to them, but yeah, he's I know he was here when I left, and he's and then came back, and he's still here, and yeah, we've had a number of managers who maybe go around since then, but yeah, and that'll be key. You know, people like Paul Gerrard, people like Gary Sheffley, the backroom staff. We have built a good backroom staff. Same with Adam Henshaw, who's been key to recruitment over the past 12 months. Keeping those individuals is going to be really helpful for Andy in the next few weeks and hopefully beyond that.
We touched on James Coppinger, Tom Anderson there, Liam. How big is it for Andy Butler that the other players buy in to what he wants to do? A lot of them, of course, signed by Darren Moore, and now it's a case of listening to what Andy Butler wants them to do and just forgetting about what's gone on in the past few days.
Well, we talked a lot about how important the senior figures are, the likes of Coppinger and, as you mentioned, Tom Anderson, the captain. The people that the players in the squad listen to, and they're going to be on side with Andy Butler, and they're going to be huge figures for him in getting his message into the squad. People he can trust, because that's what you always want in a squad. Players you can trust who are going to get people on side and get on that message. So that's going to be huge for him going forward.
I suppose it's a test of the resolve of some of the younger lads in the squad, maybe the lads brought in on loan by Darren Moore, to see how they react to this.
Certainly is, and I think by the sounds of it, Andy Butler's made it clear that you have to be performing to get picked, and there's pressure on them to perform. There's no guarantees. They are going to be playing week in, week out as they have been, so it's going to be a big learning curve for them, and something they're really going to have to respond to.
From the sounds of it, Sean, the players, when they arrived at Cantley Park on Monday morning, were upbeat, ready to get going again, ready to get to work, and just working hard for Andy Butler. Yeah,
I think so. I think the one benefit Andy's got is he's proven over the time he's been at the club with a lot of his teammates this season and in years gone by, he'll run through walls. So the fact that he'll run walls for his teammates, you'd like to think that would inspire them to do the same for him. And again, some of our loan players who probably haven't played with Andy that long, they've got their own aspirations that they want to be playing for contracts either here or elsewhere moving forward, or getting into their parent club. So there's inspiration that everybody can find about this moving forward on the pitch between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, James Coppinger himself has seen just about everything in a Rovers shirt, and the Rovers legend says he's not really surprised by anything in football these days. It's a fairly quick turnaround since the weekend. It really just shows how quickly things can change in football, doesn't it? What's the mood been like down at Cantley Park today?
Yeah, nothing surprises me. 23 years as a professional footballer, nothing surprises me in football. And I think we've spoke in the past about how ruthless it is. One day you're with players, managers, coaches, the next not, and you've just got to get on with it and adapt as a player. Yeah, obviously seeing everybody today. We had a meeting with the chairman, Gavin Baldwin, and obviously Butts introduced himself as a gaffer. And for everybody, it's a new start. It's a clean slate, and everyone's in good spirits and looking forward to the sort of last 19 games of the season.
Yeah, he's got a fair crack at it, hasn't he, Andy Butler? There's still plenty to play for in the campaign, albeit not the best run recently, but as he said, it's a fresh start for him and the playing staff.
Yeah, and he's got a fantastic group of players that are willing to work hard every single day. He demands high standards of himself. So it's exactly the same as a manager. When he had that short period, you knew what was expected of you. His communication skills are really, really good in terms of what he asks of everybody. You know where you stand. So I'm really positive about everything that's going on. And like you say, couldn't come any quicker, the game tomorrow and then Saturday. And the good thing about it is we've got so many games coming up, everybody will get used, and it'll be a real big test for everybody involved.
He's earned his stripes with the Bells in getting that experience under his belt. Do you feel like, from what you've seen of him since he returned to the club, that he's improved in terms of his coaching methods? Obviously, he had the little spell in charge.
I think what strikes me with Butts is this is what he wants to do. For a lot of people, when they get into 37, 38 and they're undecided, but he's got a real passion for management, obviously been with the Bells. He's got a real hunger and desire to be successful and do really, really well. And you could see that in his presentation to the players this morning. It was like, I think it's sort of sunk in with him. And look, this is a great opportunity at a club that he holds dear to his heart, obviously from Doncaster. So yeah, I just think, I will be doing everything in my powers to support him, to help him, and I know there's a lot of lads at Cantley Park that'll be doing the same.
Yeah, Coppinger's experience is going to be key between now and the end of the season. Then, Liam, do you expect to see him maybe get a bit more game time in the next few weeks under Andy Butler?
I think he will. Andy knows everything what Cops brings, and he, as we said, he's going to be a trusted player, not only in the change room but on the pitch as well. I think it does look better. Cops made no secret of his frustration over not playing as much under Darren, and I'm sure he will be looking forward to this next few weeks now.
And although he's not had the game time he would have liked, we've obviously not had a show since that wonder goal against Hull a couple of weeks back, but that could set him up for the rest of the season, couldn't it? Just give him that spring in his step.
You'd like to think so. I thought he'd come on. He went on the pitch long on Saturday at Ipswich, but he come on and made a bit of a difference. Brought a bit of a calmness to Rovers' attempts to get an equaliser in that game, and he could be a massive player. The Rovers are going to need calm heads, particularly after this little bit of a run that they've been on, and who better than James Coppinger to provide that?
Yeah, Andy Butler needs people he can rely on, doesn't he, Sean, at present? And who better than someone like James Coppinger, who's played with for the last 5-6 years or so?
Yeah, absolutely. He's just, he's like Liam just said, he's calm, he's composed, he knows what his game is, and he can be a trusted figure in the centre of that pitch. And Andy said himself he's going to drop down from the playing side himself because he wants to focus on managing on the side, so he'll need leaders on the pitch, and there's no better leader than James Coppinger in terms of what he can do to inspire Doncaster Rovers, as we saw a couple of weeks ago.
It's a big thing for Andy Butler to do that, isn't it? To put the playing aspect of it to one side, but it shows his commitment into getting the job right as a manager. It
does. It really shows his commitment as well. And I think, again, he said today himself in his interviews that he didn't wake up this morning thinking he'd played his last game for Doncaster Rovers, but he doesn't want to turn down the opportunity to manage the club. This is the next step of his career, and it's one he's relishing and really looking forward to. And he's been building up for a long, long time. He's football orientated. He's football obsessed. He's a qualified referee. He's been involved with women's football. He's just football through and through, and he's Doncaster through and through. So yeah, it's the commitment he's going to show already is really pleasing, to be honest. Really pleasing. And the fans on social media, Liam, as you'll have seen all day on Monday, disappointed by the fact that Darren Moore has left the club. But having one of their own in charge is something they can really get behind, isn't it? I think it is, and I think they really have. I haven't seen anybody really moaning about this appointment, and I've seen an awful lot of people saying that, right, let's forget what's gone, let's back Andy Butler, and I think that's great. That's a dream for the club, really. Because you know that whatever happens, he's going to give it everything. And I think he said in his interview, didn't he, Sean, that it will affect him from the minute he wakes up to the minute he goes to bed. There won't be a minute that he's not thinking about something Doncaster Rovers related. He did, yeah. He was, I think one of the reporters asked if he was going to sit down and take it all in because he hadn't had a chance to look at his phone or sit down all today, and his answer was, I'd like to say I would, but I won't. I'll be looking at Portsmouth and what we need to do for tomorrow. And yeah, you're not going to get anything more than 110% commitment from Andy Butler, are you? Of course, there is a game to play tonight, and the new Rovers boss is well aware of the threat posed by tonight's visitors, Portsmouth. Portsmouth are the first test on Tuesday night. In terms of league standings at the minute, you couldn't ask for a much tougher start in terms of games.
Well, that's what I want to do. I want to challenge myself against the best teams. I want to challenge myself as a manager, and look, I want to get this club as high as I possibly can. And if it means, and obviously you've got to beat the best to become the best. So yeah, we'll start off with a tough game against Portsmouth, but they've got to come here and it's our home form, our patch. We want to win games at home and excite the fans. I want the players to excite me. I told them, I said, look, I want you to excite me, express yourselves and play we really enjoy out there. It's been a bit of a frustrating run on the field. You know as well as anyone though, the quality is there within the group to turn it round sooner rather than later. Look at the position we're in. We're in a fantastic position at the moment. A few results on the season, and you know what? Yes, it is a bit disappointing at the moment, but the squad, like you said, we've got the squad and the players to turn it around in an instant and completely reverse that run. We've done it before, and we'll continue. Like I say, continue to improve now. Hopefully, I'll add something else to the squad already and really progress it.
Tonight we're supporting Level Playing Fields Weeks of Action, making football accessible for people with disabilities. And on to the action tonight then, gents. How do you see this one going, Liam? A battle of two teams who are right up there this season.
Yeah, and Rovers really do need a result tonight, it's fair to say, after this run, and it'll be great to kick off the Andy Butler era with one. Going to be tough, we know that. Portsmouth, they provided a tough test down at their place, a fantastic win for Rovers that day, that seemed to provide a tremendous amount of belief quite early on in the season. We know Portsmouth have improved since then, they are right up there. It's going to be tough, but there's every reason to believe that Rovers can get the win tonight.
They have been a little bit up and down themselves though recently, Portsmouth, haven't they? A home defeat to Blackpool not so long ago, but with players like John Marquis, as we know, in the team, always capable of causing problems.
They are. There's a lot of teams like this. You looked at Ipswich at the weekend and you look at the players that they've got on paper and teams that haven't had the best times of it, but they're still strong and they're still on the day, can be very good. We know how difficult this season is with the demands on the players, so there's always going to be ups and downs week after week. You're not quite sure exactly what team you're going to get, but we know that Portsmouth are capable of arguably being the best team in the division on the day.
Had a bit of upheaval off the pitch as well. Kenny Jackett was expected to miss a couple of weeks after an operation, but he's returned quicker than expected, which will no doubt be a big boost for them.
I think it will. The last thing, as we've talked about a lot tonight, you don't want a lot of disruption, and the last thing they'll wanted will have been to lose the manager for a few weeks, but thankfully he's in good health and back in the dugout.
Sean, what would a win to start the Andy Butler reign do for confidence on and off the pitch?
Oh, I think it'd be amazing. I mean, you know, we're probably on one of our version of forms for a couple of years. So the first thing Andy's got to do is turn that sliding form round and get back to basics, which, you know, usually means a clean sheet and taking a scrappy 1-0 win. I think was something that we'd all take. But yeah, halt the thing, get the players back on the side, get them, and the win just changes the rounds of the season. And you know, we're all right. We're on a bad run of form, but we're not a bad team. There's a few strong teams in this division. We're just having our bad run of form right now.
I know you went for a 7-3 scoreline on the last show against Hull. What are you going to go for tonight?
Well, I got half of that score right, didn't I? If I got 3, so I'm going for a 3-0 tonight.
Liam?
I'm going to go 2-0 tonight.
Liam, Sean, thank you for your company. Thank you at home for watching as well. Head over to iFollow Rovers now. It's Rovers against Portsmouth from 7 p.m.